Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Jasura Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Jasura Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Gopijana Vallabha Girivardhari. Girivardhari. Jasura Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Jasura Nandana Braja Janaranjana. Jamunatira Vanachari. Jamunatira Vanachari. Tira Vanachari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Sisi Radha Madhava ki, Sisi Radha Giridhari. Jayo Vishnu Paramahamsa, thank you. Jayo Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrajika Jaja Shodhar. Sri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Jayo Vishnu Paramahamsa Parivrajika Jaja Shodhar. Sri Srimad His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Brinda ki jai. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Sam Veda Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Go Premanandi, all glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories assembled devotees. All glories, Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Hare Krishna. Anyone here grow up with brothers? Brothers. Yeah, brothers. Like when you have siblings that were brothers. Brothers. I had one. You had a brother. Anyone else? My cousin brothers. Okay. Brothers fight, don't they? That's the nature. Ask me how I know. I had 4 others. Actually, 3 others and myself. My sister didn't pick on us. But the reason I brought that up is we know that the asuras and the suras in this universe are actually brothers. And but they're always fighting, because brothers always fight. You know, who can control the universe? You know, so you just see it. You know, and especially, and actually, it's not just when they're young kids. I have 2 grandkids, and one's 1.5 and one's 4, and the 1.5 sometimes picks on the 4-year-old. You know, it's like, yeah, just so kids are kids, boys are boys. So, but it's not just when you're young. Even when you're old, there's animosity. Just listen to this podcast. Raghunath, he's talking about he was in Jaipur, and they stayed at this very, very beautiful old palace, almost, with a big courtyard in the middle. But diagonally across that middle of the property, one side was beautifully developed as a new resort, and the other side hadn't been touched for like 50, 60 years. It was all in disrepair and broken down and everything. And what had happened is the 2 brothers there, their grandfathers were brothers, and they didn't get along, and they never made up. And the property was inherited. It's the 2nd generation was inherited, but they won't get along because their grandfathers didn't get along. And so one developed one whole side, the other side looks like it's haunted. It's all in disrepair, and they won't get along enough to say, hey, why don't we get along and just have the whole thing look like a beautiful palace and resort for people to stay in, but they just won't do it. They just don't get along. They won't patch that up. So it's quite interesting. So I bring that up because today's chapter is about a truce between the devas and the asuras. So that's what this chapter is, and Krishna's asked him to declare a truce for the better good. So we're starting a new chapter today. It's chapter 6. The demigods and demons declare a truce. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So, we're going to read the chapter summary. This is like the Cliff Notes. So if you sleep through the next 2-3 weeks in this chapter, just remember this part when the test comes, okay? Just read this and you'll pass the test at the end of the chapter. This chapter describes how the Lord appeared before the demigods when they offered him their prayers. That was the previous chapter. Following the advice of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demigods executed a truce with the demons for the purpose of churning nectar from the sea. So all you have to remember is these 2 lines if you want to pass the test. Now there's a little more description now. Because of the prayers offered by the demigods in the previous chapter, Lord Kshirodakshaya Vishnu was pleased with the demigods, and thus he appeared before them. The demigods were almost blinded by his transcendental bodily effulgence. At first, therefore, they could not even see any part of his body. After some time, however, when Brahmā could see the Lord, he, along with Lord Shiva, began to offer the Lord prayers. Lord Brahmā said, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, being beyond birth and death, is eternal. He has no material qualities, yet he is the ocean of unlimited auspicious qualities. He is subtler than the most subtle. He is invisible, and his form is inconceivable. He is worshipable for all the demigods. Innumerable universes exist within his form, and therefore he is never separated from these universes by time, space, or circumstances. He is the chief of the Pradhan. Although he is the beginning, the middle, and the end of the material creation, the idea of pantheism conceived by Mayavadi philosophers has no validity. The Supreme Personality of Godhead controls the entire material manifestation through his subordinate agent, the external energy. Because of his inconceivable transcendental position, he is always the master of the material energy. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in His various forms is always present even within the material world, but the material qualities cannot touch Him. One can understand His position only by His instructions as given in Bhagavad Gita. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Tadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. Buddhi Yoga means Bhakti Yoga. Only through the process of Bhakti Yoga can one understand the Supreme Lord. When offered prayers by Lord Shiva and Lord Brahmā, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was pleased. Thus He gave appropriate instructions to all the demigods. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Ajita, unconquerable, advised the demigods to make a peace proposal to the demons so that after formulating a truce, the demigods and demons could churn the ocean of milk. The rope would be the biggest serpent, known as Vasuki, and the churning rod would be the Mandara mountain. Poison would also be produced from the churning, but it would be taken by Lord Shiva, and so there would be no need to fear it. Many other attractive things would be generated by the churning, but the Lord warned the demigods not to be captivated by such things. Nor should the demigods be angry if there were some disturbances. After advising the demigods in this way, the Lord disappeared from the scene. Following the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the demigods established a peace with Maharaj Bali, the king of the demons. Then both the demons and the demigods started for the ocean, taking Mandara mountain with them. Because of the great heaviness of the mountain, the demigods and demons became fatigued, and some of them actually died. Then the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, appeared there on the back of his carrier Garuda, and by his mercy he brought these demigods and the demons back to life. The Lord then lifted the mountain with one of his hands and placed it on the back of Garuda. The Lord sat on the mountain and was carried to the spot of the churning by Garuda, who placed the mountain in the middle of the sea. Then the Lord asked Garuda to leave that place, because as long as Garuda was there, or was present, Vasuki would not come there. Why is that? He likes snakes. Okay. So, text 1, that's what's on the board, right? Shisukuvacha evam stutaha suraganair Bhagavan harir ishvaraha tesam avirabud rajan sasrakodhaya jyutihi Shisukuvacha evam stuta suroganai Bhagavan haririshvaraha te sam avirad budrajan sahasrak kodaya stutihi Shri Sukuvacha evam stuta suragunar Bhagavan haririshvaraha te sam avirabhudrajan sasrakodaya dyutihi. Anyone like to chant? Ladies? Anyone else online? Okay. Word. Sri Shuka Vacha. Sri Sukadeva Goswami said, Evam, in this way, Stutaha, being worshipped by prayers, Suraganai, by the demigods, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Harihi, the vanquisher of all inauspiciousness, Ishvara, the Supreme Controller, Tisam, in front of Lord Brahmā, and all the demigods, Avirabhut, appeared there. Rajan, O King Parikshit, Sahasra, of thousands, Arka, of suns, Udaya, like the rising, Dyuti, his effulgence. Translation. Sukadeva Goswami said, O King Parikshit, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari, being thus worshipped with prayers by the demigods and Lord Brahmā, appeared before them. His bodily effulgence resembled the simultaneous rising of thousands of suns. Text 2. The vision of all the demigods was blocked by the Lord's effulgence. Thus they could see neither the sky, the directions, the land, or even themselves, what to speak of seeing the Lord who is present before them. That's pretty bright. You know, sometimes when the lights go out, you can't even see yourself. There's something called absolute darkness. And there's, you know where that's experienced on this planet? Or you can experience it? Do we have such a pot, Pri, in the kitchen that Dravida can make this experiment? I was thinking of caves. Yes, and they say that about caves. And I don't know who was telling the story. Maybe it was Sridhar Maharaj. He went to one cave, and they actually do that to you. Because it's all lit up, and there's, pathways and so on. But they tell everyone, just wait, and I'm going to show you what absolute, don't freak out. And they turn the lights out. And it is so dark, you cannot even see your hand in front of your face. It's like up above because of they call it light pollution. All the buildings and electricity we have and so on. In fact, back in the 60s, this Mount Palomar was the telescope because, it was up high in the mountain and they could see so many things. But with all the development of Southern California, it became obsolete decades ago. It's too much light.
And why don't we have any streetlights or anything? I heard that's why we don't have enough streetlights because Palomar wasn't.
It's closed down for a long time because of LA and all that. It's just too much. So the main point, this is how effulgent this is, that it was so bright you couldn't even see your hand in front of your face. I mean, that's bright. So much brightness. So the Lord's effulgence. So texts 3 through 7, here's a description of the Supreme Lord. Lord Brahmā, along with Lord Shiva, saw the crystal clear personal beauty of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, whose blackish body resembles a Marakatta gem, whose eyes are reddish, like the depths of a lotus, who is dressed with garments that are yellow like molten gold, and whose entire body is attractively decorated. They saw his beautiful, smiling, lotus-like face crowned by a helmet bedecked with valuable jewels. The Lord has attractive eyebrows, and his cheeks are adorned with earrings. Lord Brahmā and Lord Shiva saw the belt on the Lord's waist, the bangles on his arms, and necklace on his chest, and the ankle bells on his legs. The Lord is bedecked with flower garlands, his neck is decorated with a Kaustubha gem, and he carries with him the goddess of fortune and his personal weapons, like his disc and club. When Lord Brahmā, along with Lord Shiva and the other demigods, thus saw the form of the Lord, they all immediately fell to the ground, offering their obeisances. Sometimes I bring this up, but you see, it's a symptom of an advanced person, an advanced culture, that they notice everything. The more things you notice, it means you're actually quite advanced, intelligent, conscious. Prabhupada gave the example once well, actually, there are two examples about people. One about someone being hired for a job, and he asked them, "Did you take the Taj Express here?" And he said, "Yes." And Prabhupada said, "How many cars on the Taj Express?" And the man couldn't answer how many cars were. He said, good job. And there's something else about knowing how many beams. What's that story? In the ceiling, above in the room. Prabhupada said, "You don't know." I don't know, it was in the room like that. So in other words, you notice everything. So it's a symptom. Right. Like that. So, the point here is Lord Brahmā, Lord Shiva, they saw Krishna. Could have left it like that. Like a real short verse. But look, they notice all these things. And that's just a symptom of a very advanced person. They just notice all these things, and it's just it's automatic. Whereas someone who's kind of dull, they just everything, just all the details in life just pass them by. They don't even catch it. In fact, what they say, there are three kinds of people in life. They're the kind of people where life kind of goes by. They don't even notice it. And there's this kind of people who life goes by, they kind of notice it. And there's those people who are doing things with their life. So it's a symptom of Kali Yuga. We just don't notice things. Very, very little. Very, very little. So, and Srila Prabhupada was expert at that. You'd come into a room and just see everything, right? Whether it was what kind of nails they used in the construction of the Krishna Balaram temple. There's that pastime. He noticed the nails, or a little bit of tilak in Radharani's eye in Los Angeles, or just he noticed everything. He just noticed everything like that. What is that? There was a water on the morning walk in Beverly Hills or something like that, and someone's lawn. Prabhupada noticed that their faucet was dripping, had to go and turn the faucet, and it's just different things. That's a symptom that you're very, very conscientious of everything. Nothing, you don't miss anything. So the transcendental form of the Lord, everything is beautiful and ecstatic and effulgent. Krishna is known as Vidagdha. You know what Vidagdha means? Vidagdha. We had a devotee in Boston named Vidagdha, God brother. He was an artist too.
Very clever and witty and dressing nicely.
Yes, that's what dressing very, Krishna is known as Vidagdha. He dresses very, very nicely. So the pujaris are very, very careful to make sure Krishna is always appearing quite sharp. That's the term they use these days. Oh, he looks so sharp when someone dresses nicely. Like that. Like Balaram, he dresses quite sharply now. He's very nice. Like that. So, got to look good. It's preaching. Mukunda Charan also, he dresses very nicely, doesn't he? He always looks quite good. Like that. So this is good. Like that. So, men have a problem with that, right? Ladies always look very nice. That's why if someone's not dressed very nice, their mother's not there, their wife's not there. Like that. Because it's going to have someone dressed. The men have to be dressed by a woman. It's like, come on, you can't wear that. You got to wear this. So, like that. So Mother Yashoda is making sure Krishna's dressed very nicely before he goes out to herd the cows. So text 8, which is one we'll speak on for a little bit. I'll just read the English. Lord Brahmā said, although you are never born. So actually the exercises, notice that's, I guess, the takeaway from what I just said. We have to be conscientious and notice things. Does anyone here notice how many kitchen shoes are outside that door every morning? Sankarshan, as head of the kitchen, do you notice that? And do you ever notice them on your feet? Because I heard you're the number one offender. So notice these things and take action like that. So just note, oh yes, this has, okay. So that's a sign. You just notice things and do what's appropriate. Okay, so a little jab there, but well deserved. Okay. Lord Brahmā said, although you are never born, your appearance and disappearance as an incarnation never cease. You are always free from the material qualities, and you are the shelter of transcendental bliss resembling an ocean. Eternally existing in your transcendental form, you are the supreme subtle of the most extremely subtle, We therefore offer our respectful obeisances unto you, the Supreme, whose existence is inconceivable. Purport. It is said in the Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 6th verse, Ajopi san avayatma, bhutanam ishwaropi san, aprakratim sammatishtaya, sambhavami atmamaya. Although I am unborn, and my transcendental body never deteriorates, and although I am the Lord of all sentient beings, I still appear in every millennium in my original transcendental form. In the following verse in Bhagavad Gita, 4th chapter, 7th verse, the Lord says, Yada yada hi dharmasya glani bhavati bharata abhutanam madharmasya tadatmanam srijam yaham. Whenever and wherever there is a decline in religious practice, O descendant of Bharata, and a predominant rise of irreligion, at that time I descend myself. Thus, although the Supreme Lord is unborn, there is no cessation to his appearance in the different forms as incarnations like Lord Krishna and Lord Rama. Since his incarnations are eternal, the various activities performed by these incarnations are also eternal. The Supreme Personality of Godhead does not appear because he is forced to do so by karma, like ordinary living entities who are forced to accept a certain type of body. It is to be understood that the Lord's body and activities are all transcendental, being free from the contamination of the material modes of nature. These pastimes are transcendental bliss to the Lord. The word aparigana dhamne are very significant. There is no limit to the Lord's appearance in different incarnations. All of these incarnations are eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshur Unminitam Taismai Sri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakti Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Panchakapatarupaśya Kripa Sindhu Bevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Hare Krishna. So by your good wishes and ardent prayers, I'll try to say a few things more. It's interesting that someone can actually think they're God, isn't it? Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Because here we have some, just here, throughout the Bhagavatam, I mean, every single chapter, descriptions of who the Supreme Personality of God is. Krishna is revealing himself. And who has these qualities? No one but Krishna. And to say, I'm God, is I guess would be the ultimate manifestation of illusion, right? It's the ultimate. So if you want to say you're great, you're in great illusion, because Krishna is different than. Like that, I am God. Okay. So there's some description here, and of course Prabhupada's in the purport about being unborn, this Ajopi son avayatma. On one hand, Krishna is unborn, but he's appearing. He's appearing in this material world for a reason. There's this idea that the material world is of no substance or consequence. I guess you have that kind of the yogis and impersonalists, that Brahmā satya jagan mithya. The material world's false, it's just to be detested and we have nothing to do with it. But that's not our philosophy. That's not our philosophy at all. The material world is an insignificant portion of the spiritual world, in that sense, just like the jailhouse is supposed to be an insignificant expenditure for the government. It's there, it's a necessity, but it's not supposed to be something prominent. If you go to El Salvador, it is, right? They have that one prison for 10,000. They just built that one for all the gang members, and now we're exporting people there too. It's a pretty big thing. Why is that? Because crime is such a big thing. And in our country today, it's kind of hush-hush, but the amount of money spent in the penal system, in jails and prisons, is staggering. Each prisoner is like what it used to be, $40,000 a year in tax money for each one prisoner. I don't know what it is now. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money. Okay. Okay. But so the point I'm making is that even though it's an insignificant part of God's creation, it's very dear to Krishna, and he's coming. So for the devotees, the material world. What's our view of this material world? What's our obligation to the creation? Is it just to renounce it and consider it to be vain and foul and to be renounced and nothing to do with it? No, actually, the devotees' position on that is twofold. One is that we're the stewards of this world because it belongs to Krishna, so we should take care of it very, very nicely. And the people in this world are meant to be the objects of our compassion. So it's very significant because that's what Krishna is saying here. Although he's unborn, he's still coming. Yada yada hidamasaklani all the time, perpetually. Just like you go down a lot. The waves in the ocean. What would you go down there and there are no waves anymore? You'd be bummed out, right? But the waves just keep coming. Ever since I've been here, since 1977, the waves. There's not one day the waves didn't come. They just keep coming. And it says the incarnations of the Lord are like that. They just keep coming. They're eternal. Prabhupada said it's Krishna's eternal roadshow. Right? He's always appearing. His pastimes, every single pastime of the Lord is happening right now somewhere. Right? Lord Ramachandra is appearing somewhere. We just celebrated his appearance in this universe a few days ago, but he's been appearing and he never stops. It just never stops. Somewhere. Okay. So this is why is Krishna doing this? Out of his transcendental love and affection for the fallen souls. He says here when there's a predominant rise of irreligion, like that, at that time he comes to establish the principles of religion, to help people come home back to Godhead. And even though Krishna is completely transcendental, that's what sometimes people say. God is transcendental, so he can't have anything to do with this material world. He's beyond it. We hear that God is beyond this world, beyond time. So how is it he has any connection with this material world at all? Because it's described here and also in these previous verses. Hare Krishna, make yourself at home. Everything's within him. This is his energy, his manifestation. Yes, he's transcendental. He's not affected by it. And of course, let's go back to the prison example. Probably it's just like the governor comes to the prison. Of course, now the governor comes to prison because he is a prisoner. But I don't know his name, but my mother lives in New England. Years ago, apparently the governor of Rhode Island ran the state from inside prison. He was actually arrested. He was in prison, but he's still. I said, how's that possible? He's still running the state? Oh, yeah, he was still running the state, but he was in prison. Like that. So it's not uncommon that political people in political posts are criminals. It's not uncommon at all. And sometimes they're caught. But anyways, we're not talking about those kind of governors and so on, but probably gives the example that the governor goes to the jail. He's not an ordinary prisoner. He's there maybe even to... what is the word? Excuse. To pardon some prisoners like that. So it's quite different. He's a person, he's walking around the prison, but he has nothing to do. He's not confined by the laws of the prison house. So Krishna appears in this world, but he's not at all, conditioned by the material energy. In fact, his coming to this material world, he says, is by his own sweet will. Krishna comes, manifests himself. And we're not in that category. Who here chose this birth? Do you remember choosing it on the menu? Like that? Like, oh, okay, we'll take this one, and I'll be born here. I don't know, look, college green? Okay. No, it's just all, boom. We're forced, we're pushed by the modes of material nature and so on. So that's the difference between us and Krishna. So Krishna is very, very kind. He's appearing in the pages of the Srimad Bhagavatam in this particular pastime a little bit later on, because we're going into the pastime of the churning of the ocean of milk. And Prabhupada said, the reason Krishna wanted to do this because in the form of Kurma, he had a little itch on his back, and he just wanted to have someone scratch it. So this whole pastime comes out of Krishna wanting his back scratched. So that's Krishna. And he starts telling the demigods already, this is all going to unfold, and I want you to be careful about this and that. It's all an arrangement by the Lord to help his devotees. And this will come up again and again and again. One major theme of this particular pastime is this truce between the demigods and the demons. And that's not an easy thing to do, because even in our devotional service, sometimes you just have to be very, very tolerant of others in order to get your service done. That's the point. They had to tolerate. They didn't want to, they didn't get along. These are brothers that just did not get along. But they had to put that aside, your personal prejudices and feelings and envy and whatever. Or even you have good reason to be upset with someone. You have to put that aside, and you have a more important service to do. So it's something very big to learn from this particular chapter. And also to listen. Because Krishna is saying here, Lord Vishnu is saying, when we churn that ocean of milk, a lot of things are going to come out of that. Just leave it alone. He's giving some good advice. Just leave it alone. The demons can have it if they want or whatever and so on. But then, of course, the pot of nectar came, and then they had to be very, very peaceful when that appeared, not like grab it and say, oh, we got it. No, just had to listen very, very, very carefully to what was going on. And then Krishna appeared as Mohini Murti to distribute it. And of course, she cheated. She can cheat. We can't. She can cheat. As far as cheating, I just heard something very interesting yesterday. You want to hear something about cheating and devotees?
Yes.
About lying?
Yes.
Okay.
Don't lie.
You got a problem with lying? You said that so enthusiastically. No, I'm joking. Listen to this pastime. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati heard that some of his Sankirtan devotees lied to collect funds for the moth. And he was so upset, he personally fasted for 3 days from water and food as atonement that had happened in his moth. So in other words, those kind of things, devotees, we make mistakes and this and that, but that kind of cheating and lying is very, very, very serious. And that's an interesting story I heard about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. You're right. He says all kinds of things. So, Hare Krishna. What's up, Bhadraram Maharaj? They used to say, we got this 747 full of food going to India, but we don't have enough money for the gas. Can you pitch in? That was one of the lines on Sankirtan. Oh, yeah. So who's going to believe that story? But hey, people believed it. So, or maybe Maharaj made the whole thing up. I don't know. But that's an example. That's an example. Does Mukunda need any help out there? Oh, okay. Yes, I know. Dharmaraj. Okay. That's why they call him Dharmaraj. He definitely disperses justice in many different ways. So, anyways, I don't know how I got off on that tangent, but that's a very instructive pastime of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. It's very, very serious. They're just making up little stories. So that's one big theme in this chapter, about putting aside our personal this and that, and for the sake of serving the Lord, for the mission of the Lord, like that. And a lot of times it has to do with and the most important thing is always interpersonal relationships. You just have to be trinadapi sunichena tororiva suhishtana manida manida kirtaniya sadahari, and just do what's best for pushing on the Sankirtan movement. So we can end there on that happy note. Are there any questions or comments or discussions? Fact-checking. Something I said? Thank you.
This verse, quoted in the purport of Jyotisana Vyatma, Prabhupada in the Gita, when he speaks about it, and often when he quotes the verse, he emphasizes the point that, unlike us, Krishna appears Atma Mayaya, by his own internal energy. He's not forced to appear like that. But you won't find that in the translation. But it's been there for the last few years in the printed version. But this is, this is quoted, and so we're going to try to progressively. So that's just one thing that is important. That distinguishes his appearance from ours. I mean, that's one of the distinguishing qualities. We're forced to appear. He does it on his own energy, by his own will, in order to reinstall Dharma, protect the devotees, and annihilate the demons.
Anything else? Yes, Prabhu. Microphone.
Prabhu, this past time you told about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur fasting from his disciples lying. We hear about Maharaj Yudhisthira, not wanting to tell a lie. And he was criticized for that, saying, if you're a mundane moralist, you're going to go to hell. So sometimes we see devotees who are doing book distribution, they may perform some sort of tactic in order for someone to get the book. So where's the line between that, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur taking like a firm vow, and then, Maharaj Yudhisthira of not wanting to tell a lie? Do you kind of understand what I'm asking?
Yes. There could be a little wiggle room there. In the sense, Prabhupada also tells a story about his godbrothers collecting funds by saying that their spiritual master is living just on Tulsi leaves and Ganges water. That was okay. It's like a little something, So I don't know to what extent these devotees in the math, what they were saying and how long it was going on and so on. But one has to be very, very careful about crossing the line of morality in the name of devotional service. Let's put it that way. And if in doubt, don't, or at least consult. And then also, why? Why? Is it really necessary? Is it really necessary? So, but... so I hope that helps. I mean, people say, it's just a white lie. What do they call it, a white lie? Is there a black lie? Is there a white lie? It just means a little something. Oh, okay, I'm a businessman. For you, no profit. Now, come on, how do you stay in business if you don't make a profit? But they say that, and everyone, yes. You go to wherever you go, yeah, sure. It's just a nicety. They don't mean that at all. It's ridiculous. But they'll say it. Is it true? Not in the least. It's ridiculous they even say that. But you say that it's a nice, for you, no profit. You're my friend. Just like I was in India once, and the man in Lloyd Bazaar, and he charged me like $75, tried to charge me $75 for a little brass pot. Then I started calculating in my head, rupee, and I said, wait a second. I said, I can't give you $75 for this pot. It's not my money. It's for the altar and this and that. He goes, but I cannot give it back. You are the first sale of the day. It is inauspicious. I said, it's really inauspicious if you don't give me that money back. And he started going down. It was like $15. I walked out, But he said, it is inauspicious if I give you, because you're the first sale of the day. And you cannot, turn it around. It is very bad for my, like inauspicious. And I told him it's very inauspicious if you take all that money from Krishna. So we went back and forth, and finally, I think it was like $15, went from 75 down to 15. But, that's what he said. First sale of the day, he didn't want to break it, because it'd be considered inauspicious. So, yes.
Prabhupada had, this phrase, which one of the first, I guess it's Bengali, Palena Parichiyate. Maybe it's Sanskrit. The success or failure by the result. That was the result. So, in the early or the mid '70s, early '70s, basically, when book distribution took off, there was a tremendous desire to get a high score, And so devotees, I can imagine what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur would say about the change-up. I mean, that's within the category of a lie.
Yes.
Right? But the result was that the big scores, and so many books were distributed. But later on, Prabhupada, he heard about all this, and there were some heavy reactions from society, and so it was counterproductive in the long view, because we got the reputation for cheaters and this and that. So distributing the book on the merit of the book, something like that, became the standard. And as Vaisheshika, who's the most seasoned book distributor, leaving everyone with a good impression. Not that I bought this book and I don't know what it was, and they somehow $20 was not changed, is cheated. So that's not, you don't want that. In the long run, that is bad for the whole movement, and it's bad for, So that's the result. As far as Yudhishthira, he got a bad reaction because he didn't lie because Krishna ordered him to lie. That was the key. He did something that ordinarily you wouldn't do because it's not. But if Krishna orders you to do it, then the sin is not doing it, and so he had to see hell.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the criterion. But otherwise, the default is to go out to be a representative of Krishna and deal honestly with the people, and learn how to sell the books and distribute the books on the strength of the book and like that. So that there's no bad reaction, and it's just ultimately very good for everyone. That's the problem.
So, we can end here, right? All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Shri Ekadasi Bhatta Ki Jai.
In these verses, it's saying they're blinded by the fortunes, they can't see anything, they can't even see him. And then the next verse is saying, they talk about his features, they're saying his features.
Well, Lord Brahmā, Lord Shiva could see him.
Oh, only those two.
Then I think he toned it down. But those prayers are being offered because Lord Shiva and Lord Brahmā, they could see.